But it seems that, Keling, which is the model for Kuaishou, worked out, was number one, and then surpassed by Cdance, by ByteDance. But those two were expected in that way. Cdance was really great because they took a very aggressive but risky shot, which is to train a much larger scale model than all the multimedia model before that. I think they upscaled by one magnitude. And they did it on, I think, when there's very little evidence that will work. So looking at it from a retrospectively, it seems, the obvious choice, and everybody's doing it now. But back then, I think, half a year ago or almost a year ago, it's not that obvious. So they took the reward for taking that risk.
Why was it a difficult bet back then?
Yeah, because most of the models are small relatively, and you use number of the training compute, the cars or the GPUs you're using in the thousands rather than the tens of thousands for that type of model. So being able to pull that resource out from training LLM models and coding, especially this year, this is a more and more difficult decision to do, especially when you're resource constrained. That was not a.
大家好，这里是华人看世界CN View 频道。在当今全球人工智能的浪潮中，中国的前沿实验室正在以惊人的速度崛起。Kimi 与DeepSeek 等开源模型的表现，不仅让硅谷感到震撼，更引发了关于模型技术路线的激烈讨论。本期视频，我们特别邀请到了五源资本合伙人孟星，与大家深度剖析中国 AI 实验室的独特生态，从 Kimi 理想主义的创业初心，到 DeepSeek 如何凭借极致的技术创新轮流坐庄，从字节跳动为何果断放弃模型蒸馏，到 AI for Science 如何成为下一个科技高地，我们还将直面那些关于中国 AI 发展的误解，深入探讨在资源受限的环境下，中国年轻一代研究人员如何创造奇迹。这不仅是一场关于技术的对话，更是一次深入硬核商业故事的探索。无论你是 AI 领域的从业者，还是关注前沿科技的爱好者，这期内容都将带你从全新的视角重新审视中美两国的 AI 竞争格局。欢迎点赞订阅，看更多精彩视频。让我们一起走进今天的深度访谈。
Right, in the early part, so everything that consumes, compute is cut to preserve enough compute to make sure that coding is, as good as possible. But and this, I think, this is not to say that this is not happening in China as well. I think it's also happening. But then, if you travel back in time and say you're in 2023, and you would have to guess 3 years later who would have the best model, multimedia model in the world, I think the easy guess would be, ByteDance, Kuaishou, and Meta, because they have the most training data, they have the most multimedia platform, they have the best distribution platform, and they have enough cards and so forth. So they know they have data, and they know the product, what the product should train towards, and they have the distribution channel for that. But it seems that Keling, which is the model for Kuaishou, worked out, was number one, and then surpassed by Cdance, by ByteDance. But those two were expected in that way. Cdance was really great because they took a very aggressive but risky shot, which is to train a much larger scale model than all the multimedia model before that. I think they upscaled by one magnitude. And they did it on, I think, when there's very little evidence that will work. So looking at it from a retrospectively, it seems, the obvious choice, and everybody's doing it now. But back then, I think, half a year ago or almost a year ago, it's not that obvious. So they took the reward for taking that risk.
Why was it a difficult bet back then?
Yeah, because most of the models are small relatively, and you use number of the training compute, the cars or the GPUs you're using in the thousands rather than the tens of thousands for that type of model. So being able to pull that resource out from training LLM models and coding, especially this year, this is a more and more difficult decision to do, especially when you're resource constrained. That was not simple. And I think that decision was led by very, very young female researchers at Cdance to do that. And she made her credit by building this. So kudos to her. I think that's a very great move. Yeah, but then what is disappointing is, I think, Meta, in a way which I suppose they should make a really great model. They have the data, they have the capability, they have the resources to do that. And it is in their, up their alley. I think it's something that they should do really well. But so far, I haven't seen the progress yet.
Yeah, I guess they did make Dream, and then Muse came out a couple, like about a month ago.
Yeah.
Would you also say, is there like a consumer demand for this in China? Because, in the beginning, we talked about this consumer-facing applications. Minimax was doing that. Obviously, it was a lot more like companion works. But like in China, it seems like there are a lot of consumer-facing AI applications. And Cdance obviously is being used by really everyday consumer. Everyone is making like TikTok videos about that. There are like AI drama, short drama, very popular on social media. Is that also what constitutes, a different market in China versus in the US?
I think Cdance is mainly adoption goes up, and especially revenue goes up. My view is it's not yet mainly contributed by individual consumer users. It's mainly by prosumer users. The reason you can say that is because you look at the applications that are built for prosumers, their revenue went up significantly after the release of Cdance.
What are some examples?
TapNow, LibTV, for example, those are the ones. So TapNow is those two products are similar, but essentially they are a canvas for building videos. And for advertiser builders or short video builders, they use the canvas to sort of set up a workflow to generate certain videos. And, at the beginning of the year, those companies were looking at, revenue in the small millions or mid-single digit. And then after Cdance release, they're quickly hit up to almost 100 million or plus or so forth. And that's a super fast growth. If you look at the deals they're making with, it's even hard to get Cdance tokens at some point, right? You have to prepay for a certain amount in order to allocate that. Yeah, so those are the buyers of Cdance API, and the user behind that are the prosumers who are making videos for AI short films and advertisement and all that stuff. So as an individual, I don't think the spending has gone up that high yet. But there's the short film market, the short video market has been going crazy, and short film has been, I think, is surpassing like the movie theaters. I think I already surpassed movie theaters this year.
Oh, this includes both human acting and AI short films, right?
Yes.
Yes.
That
makes sense.
Yeah. But then, because short films, I think in the past. We're looking at this as an investor. We look at a few companies doing that. My view was that AI-generated short films are great at, the sci-fi type of themes or the traditional China sci-fis or ancient, swordmen, and because it's really great at creating special effects. It's not very good at creating very detailed human emotional reactions so far. If you're filming like a high school drama for with a lot of dating and small intricate micro expressions, it's not very good for that in the past. So they're good at certain genre in the Chinese film, which is good. It's good enough because those genres are most popular to begin with. But now after Cdance, it's already very good at all the Cdance. A lot of the Cdance demos there's two types of Cdance demos are most popular. One is making very, very intricate emotional expressions, and that you have to laugh and then cry, but a very smooth transition across that, and then. It's better than human sometimes, better than actor. And two is that Cdance, I think, specifically spend a lot of training effort in terms of making sure that highly dynamic motions are fairly captured. For example, if you're engaged in a kung fu fight between two actors, in the past, sometimes they If you hit someone, usually the hand goes through their arm and to the other side, or it just looks unnatural in some way. But it's very hard because it's happening very fast. The frame per second the action cuts into few frames, but the action sometimes it blurs out, sometimes it's wrong. So I think the Cdance 2.0 version has spent a lot of effort in improving that, which is one of the most important feature for AI short films. So as a result, it's become almost the exclusive provider for a lot of the short films in that way.
Yeah. I actually thought it was interesting because in one of your previous interviews, you mentioned that one of the applications that you look forward to is kind of this middle ground between video and games, this interactive form of media. Would you say that AI-generated videos are kind of a step towards that? Like, are you seeing, because one of the examples that you gave in that podcast was Fable Studios' remake of South Park with AI. And are you seeing more examples like that with the advancing capabilities of AI videos?
I have to say that I'm a little disappointed since when I made that interview afterwards, I still had high hopes of that become a mainstream type of media, but I don't think it played out as I expected so far. I think naturally there should be a place where ease in between watching TV, which is leaning back and doing nothing but minimum interaction but mostly consumption, versus playing games, which is leaning in and doing intense interaction. And there should be in between, should have like a medium interaction but endless content type of way, which is generated content in that way. So it's sort of between games and media in that way. I don't think we're there yet. I think a lot of there's this thing called 影游, which is sort of that, which is sort of half movie, half game. You get to play. There's a theme. There's narrative. I think it's sort of a recreative, the game, the famous game called Become Human Detroit, which is a video game. Probably 10 years ago or so, there's a lot of those content coming out, but I don't think it's of high quality enough yet, so that becomes a very popular genre. There are single hits that are making a lot of money, but it's not taking off yet as popular as AI short films in that way.
Yeah, but you still have hopes for that.
Yes, I would love to see that happen. That's something I think this.
大家好，这里是华人看世界 CN View 频道。在刚才的节目中，我们通过孟星的视角，深入剖析了中美两国在人工智能领域的激烈竞逐，从 Kimi 与 DeepSeek 的理想主义，到字节跳动在模型蒸馏问题上的果敢抉择，再到 AI for Science 带来的科研范式变革。这些前沿动态不仅是技术的演进，更是全球科技格局重塑的缩影。回顾本期内容，我们不难发现几个核心启示。首先，真正的创新往往诞生于资源约束的极限之中。中国 AI 实验室在算力受限的条件下，凭借极高的人才密度和极度专注的工程化能力，正在实现对全球前沿水平的追赶，甚至局部超越。其次，模型能力的竞争已经从单纯的规模比拼转向了推理效率、应用场景深度挖掘以及对垂类数据的极致掌控。对于初创公司而言，谁能率先在垂直领域构筑起数据与环境的护城河，谁就掌握了通往通用人工智能的入场券。孟星提到的一个关键观点非常值得深思，硅谷对中国 AI 生态最大的误解在于过度强调了政府支持的作用，而忽视了那些在困难环境下依然保持纯粹理想、极致拼搏的个体力量。这些年轻的研究员和创业者正是中国 AI 崛起真正的核心引擎，无论是在模型架构上的激进创新，还是在多模态应用上的敏锐捕捉，这些努力都证明了中国科技力量的韧性与潜力。面对人工智能这场长跑，无论是模型层面的轮流坐庄，还是应用层面的百花齐放，AI竞争才刚刚开始。在这个过程中，保持开放的心态，关注技术背后的商业逻辑与人文思考，是我们每个人理解这个时代的关键。未来的 AI 世界或许并不属于盲目堆砌参数的巨人，而属于那些能将技术与真实场景完美融合的探索者。感谢大家收看本期深度访谈，希望这些前沿的商业故事能为你带来启发。 如果你对 AI 的未来发展有自己的看法，欢迎在评论区留言交流，又欢迎点赞订阅，看更多精彩视频。我们下期节目再见。